So this is just a very quick overview about it. And then also, finally, I think the point of all of that is that time does come to an end, that the human condition does come to an end, and that's how Islam contextualizes history, is that there is an end that is imminent. Again, I think for the individual person, the imminence of the end of time is always related to their own personal death. But there is an idea also, and then there's another important, I think a very important idea within the Islamic tradition, and that is that each generation will be less, they will be fulfilling the idea of this dimensional Islam, of Iman, Islam and Ihsan. They will not do it as well as the previous generation. That there is an idea that each generation is a watered down version. There are periods of renewal historically, and the Prophet Muhammad did say that there would be renewers every 100 years or so. There would be people that come and renew. But the idea that it's not the same. I mean, I think the Muslims do have an idea, traditional Muslims anyway, that it's not so much progress, but quite the opposite. One of the things René Guénon pointed out about the rapid speed of progress, he said one of the things that we forget is increasing acceleration means going down, not up, right? That the idea of the modern world, and I think there's a lot of questioning now of the wisdom of the idea. Bacon introduced the idea of progress, because prior to that the Christians did not have that idea within their worldview of that we are progressing. They had quite a different idea. And I think ultimately from the Muslim worldview and also from other traditional worldviews, that the same ethical issues that Plato is positing through Socrates, what is justice? How do we lead a good life? What is a good life? These things we have not come any closer, right, to really, progressing in terms of our ethical nature, in terms of our spiritual nature. That although we have massive outward technology, able to do extraordinary things, bring the living back, bring the dead back to life, move mountains, quite literally. Despite that, we are still dealing with basic human tendencies such as greed, lust, envy, slothfulness. It's hard to get away from those. And in some ways, we're less aware of our own negative tendencies than perhaps peoples before us were, and more filled with our own sense of hubris and our own sense of power. Although certainly the 20th century is a century that has created a lot of disillusionment. We've killed 180 million people this century alone in wars between human beings. And it's interesting that they weren't religious wars. They were ideological wars, because one of the oftentimes critics of religion will point out, well, look how many people died in the name of religion. Well, look how many people died in the name of communism, right? I mean, we forget that we're dealing with a human species, that it's not, the religion is not the problem, man is the problem, right? And if there's a humanizing factor in the human condition, as far as I'm concerned, it has been religion. That religion is what has introduced into the human being concepts like making beauty, concepts like becoming conscientious, charity, right? Caritas, these things, the kairos, all of these things are coming out of religious traditions. And the Muslims always say in the end, God knows best.